Jackman, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the webinar this afternoon. It is very good to see so many people here with us today. My name is Mei Tran, and I am a member of the Katalon Business Development Team. And joining me today is Mr. Jackman Singh, Senior Automation Engineer of InnovaPost. Jackman, would you like to provide a brief introduction about yourself to everyone here?
Hi. Yeah, sure. Thanks, May. So I'm Jagmeet Singh, and I'm a senior automation engineer with InnovaPost. And InnovaPost is the IT subsidiary of Canada Post Group of companies. We are using Katalon for different automation projects, and we have quite a number of success stories to share. Yeah, so and I'm working with different teams to basically scale up their automation in different teams.
Okay, thank you so much, Jackmate. So today our agenda will include the discussion about the migration process from Selenium script into Katalon Studio. And we run this webinar to essentially help people who are using Selenium for their projects and finding another alternative solution to solve their existing problems with Selenium. This webinar can also be very helpful for teams with different testing levels that would like to find an all-in-one solution, which is made for all skills to maximize the whole team's testing efforts. And finally, this webinar is also for Katalon users who would like to migrate their Selenium tests to Katalon Studio for continuous development frictionlessly. And the agenda today will include the discussion about, we'll start with the brief history of Selenium, some discussion about the advantages and the drawbacks of Selenium, and how Katalon Studio will further add values to your project when you start using Katalon to revolutionize your usage of Selenium. And eventually you will have the opportunity to see the demonstration of this migration prepared for us by Jackman. And once the demo is finished, we'll be able to use the remaining time for the Q&A session. So grab some snacks, your favorite drink, and let's get started. So, excuse me. So this is the agenda I just shared with everyone. So first of all, the Selenium in the current software testing landscape. So Selenium was first released as an extension for recording and playback, and it eventually grew to become one of the most popular tools for test automation. Selenium was first developed back in 2004 by Jason Huggins, a programmer at ThoughtWorks. And later that year, the tool was open source, and since then it has evolved significantly. And over the time, the name Selenium gained more popularity since anyone can use it for free. And also people can also contribute to it to help expand its feature set, which eventually lead to the creation of Selenium 2.0 or Selenium WebDriver. And besides from Selenium WebDriver, there are many other developers that join the Selenium project, and that has helped scale it up to more extension for different purposes. So this is why today we have the suite of the Selenium tools, including three main components: the Selenium WebDriver, the core automation component, the Selenium IDE, a recording and playback extension for browsers, and the Selenium Grid, which will enable automation tests on multiple browsers and systems at the same time. And most of the time when testers speak of Selenium, they are mentioning the Selenium WebDriver. And Selenium ultimately is a widely adopted open source test automation platform with a very comprehensive integration capabilities and flexibility for building up test suites. And more importantly, it is supported by a very strong and robust community base. So there are many advantages with Selenium. And the most notable one is the simplicity and the robustness that it offers to users to automate tests. So secondly, Selenium has a loosely coupled and open architecture, which makes it a platform and also a language neutral testing tool. Furthermore, Selenium will give the users the freedom of choice for programming languages when testing. And this kind of architecture will also help increase test coverage on multiple platforms. And finally, Selenium also enable integration with extension and other test automation framework to enable agile DevOps or CI/CD workflow, depending on the tester's needs. However, there are still shortcomings that will accompany these set lists of advantages. So one of the most notable downside of Selenium is that it requires extensive expertise from the user. And due to the lack of many components for a comprehensive automation project, such as reporting, logging, teams, they have to process to, they have to have a certain amount of expertise and a certain amount of experience to build, to customize, and to maintain a Selenium-based tool for their projects. So this means that for teams that just started with their automation journey, it is pretty difficult to efficiently leverage testing with Selenium as a main framework. And beside the, having to overcome that steep learning curve, there's no official support from the Selenium team, which is also an obstacle for members that have little experiences. And finally, on a operational level, Selenium right now does not have a mechanism for separating scripts from data. And the result of this is the high maintenance costs and low reusability. And finally, there's a lack of capabilities for managing and organizing test assets, such as test scripts, test data, and test objects. So Katalon Studio will eventually add further values to your testing project with Selenium. And here is how Katalon Studio can do that. So after recognizing both the advantages and the shortcomings of Selenium, Katalon has created, so the reason why Katalon was created was to minimize the obstacle for successful testing and regardless of the, the level of expertise from the users. So as a ready-to-use framework, Katalon Studio users can confidently apply end-to-end testing on all web, mobile, API, and desktop application in one single project. And similarly to Selenium, Katalon also support testing on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And also, we also have built-in templates, test case libraries, and object repositories with no setup requirements so that we can simplify that learning curve for our users. And one very clear example is the Smart Wait feature, which automatically waits for all the front-end processes to load before continuing, and that also eliminates the wait issue in Selenium. Moving on, aside from being a very ready-to-use framework, Katalon Studio is a very easy to adapt tool and a very powerful tool to scale up the levels of your testing project. So essentially, being a code-led testing tool, Katalon Studio can get started easily with the test automation journey very quickly because we have a very low learning curve. So, and if teams have more scaling demand, they can leverage Katalon scripting mode to extend testing further and with more customization as well. And furthermore, testers are also supported with tools that help combine different testing platforms or even directly importing a project from Selenium. Like, for instance, they can we also offer some other integration as well, such as with SauceLab, Lambda Test, Copyton, and Browser Stacks. Furthermore, we also offer native integration with some of the most common CI/CD system, an option to streamline the product development cycle, and eventually that will get rid of the struggle of cloud operating by Selenium. And in terms of CI/CD integration, some of Katalon Studio most notable native integrations are Jenkins, Bamboo, Circle CI, Azure DevOps, and the list goes on. And right now, we have a product called Katalon Test Ops, which is a part of the greater Katalon ecosystem. And this tool is made to generate comprehensive reports and analytics for your test projects. And right now, even though it's still in the beta version, Katalon Test Ops will provide teams with the capabilities driven by AI technology so that they can gain more values and through automation than ever before. So now, to give you a better understanding about what I just discussed, here is the demo that's been prepared for us by Jackman so that you can have a deeper understanding of that process to migrate from Katalon test scripts to Selenium test scripts to Katalon. So Jackman, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and
Okay.
you can take over.
Okay. Let me share my screen. So you can guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let me go to that slide where I was supposed to start. Okay, thanks May for introducing us to Katalon Studio and Selenium framework, and also highlight the advantages of Katalon Studio over native Selenium framework. So on my part of the demo, I'm basically going to demo the migration feature, which was which was introduced in Katalon Studio 7.4 version. So basically to migrate Selenium test ng slash JUnit framework to Katalon Studio. So it may sound cumbersome, but we made quite state away to do the migration from the Selenium TestNG to Katalon Studio. So it's broadly can be divided into three-step process. So then the first in the step number one, we basically copy the complete folder structure, which include your page classes and your test cases from the Selenium framework into the Katalon folder. I'm going to show you how we do it next in the demo. And then we use Katalon keywords to basically call those Selenium test ng test. And in the end, basically we execute against different browsers, which can be Chrome, Firefox, and IE. So it support different browsers basically in support in Katalon Studio. So what are the values or advantages of the migration is? So basically, when we migrate, basically we can utilize the current Selenium test when moving to the Catalan platform. So it saves us the effort of building the older test, legacy Selenium test in Catalan Studio. So it saves the effort in a big way. And for the newer development of test cases, we can use Katalon Studio. And probably most of you already know, Katalon provide a rich keyword libraries to basically ease your development and basically saves your development effort in developing the test scripts. Let me start with the demo on this. Yeah, so this is my Katalon screen. I hope everybody can see that.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, this screen I was mixed up. Yeah, so here, if you look at the screen, here we have imported our Selenium JUnit test cases, test ng test cases in the folder. Here, the folder structure we have imported under include scripts Groovy. And probably most of you know that Katalon supports two languages primarily, Java and Groovy. So here we just imported the complete folder structure of these test cases from the Selenium test ng framework to Katalon. And in the next, basically, if you look at the test case, so as May was telling you before, so it supports dual mode. Basically, you can write your test cases in the manual mode, which is this one, and the script mode. So in the manual mode, I'm basically going to highlight the test ng keywords. So if I click on here, it provides me the list of the test ng keywords which we require to execute these test cases. So here I'm saying JUnit test cases you want to execute, test ng test classes, or the test ng test suite. So if I go to the script mode, so whatever you basically write it here or select it here, it gets converted to the script mode. So people who are sometimes more comfortable in script mode can go to the script mode directly, or people who are more comfortable in manual mode can stick to the manual mode and write those test steps. So if I go to the script mode, so here it's a test suite which I am trying to execute first, and it's referring to the test ng XML, which is execution point for executing this test case test ng test suite. And I'm using this keyword, which is to run test ng test suite, and is referring to that XML file. And in a second case, basically, if I have to execute a singular test cases, not the complete suite, I can refer to a single instance of the test case. And then I call this method test the keyword, which is to execute the test ng test cases. And similarly, if I want to execute a JUnit, I refer to the JUnit test case, and I use that uh, JUnit test case keyword to basically refer and execute it. So I'm going to start showing how to execute it. So this is a test suite, which basically has a collection of test cases. So in my case, it's for only one test case I'm basically referring to here. So here I get to choose against which browser I want to execute. So it supports Chrome, Firefox, IE, Safari, and Edge. For in my case, I'm choosing Chrome as a default browser. So it's going to start executing and basically execute those three test cases. One can see those execution logs in the background. Yeah, so the test is complete. So let me show you the report. So it has basically in this report is basically tells you each test step which we try to execute. Here it first it tells you that the test suite which we executed and the test cases. So here all it basically there's some limitation in the current migration flow, migration what we have implemented. It shows that a test pass or fail. It does not show the detailed logs of the each step of execution. So if you want to see a detailed log of each step execution, you can basically go to the execution logs, which it gets saved in the report repository, and then you can look for each log. Sometimes you need logs for debugging purpose. And if you need that, you can go to the detailed logs. But here in the report, it basically gives you a high level overview of a test pass or a fail. So that's one limitation. So we might overcome that limitation in a future releases. So I'm going to also show you a demo of our, in our company, we experimented this feature for our real-time live application, which was a legacy Selenium test engine framework which we have built, and we want to migrate into Katalon with the same principle. Basically, we want to do that. We want to execute our previous Selenium test ng tests, and also and for newer development, we want to use Katalon Studio. So we want to with this new feature, I want to experiment in our scope other things, and so that's what we did. So I imported there about 200 test cases. We imported in the first folder structure which I shown you before, and we have imported not only test cases, the whole thing like all the page object page classes, all the element IDs, and other shared libraries. We imported the whole thing in here, and also because this is framework which have dependencies on external libraries, so which we require to be imported in the Katalon framework to successfully execute this test. So Katalon provide this capability. It has an integration with build.gradle, which is like a dependency management library of platform, you can call it. So here we depend specifying the external dependencies which we require for this project. So we specify all the dependencies here. And once we specify here, so we go to basically command prompt, and the Gradle we have to install it before, and then we say, okay, Gradle Katalon copy dependencies. So once we execute this command, it is going to bring all the external dependencies within this project. So if I go here, so I have listed all the external dependencies which we require for this project. So it's automatically get captured as external dependency within the Katalon project. So let me try to show you executing this whole test suite. So similarly as before, we have a test ng XML where we listing all the test cases which you want to execute for this project. And here in our test script, we are referring to that test ng XML, and then we use this keyword run test ng test suite to execute this test cases. So in our case, we have structured our test cases that Selenium Grid be running either locally or remote. So in my case, I'm running it locally on my workspace, on my laptop. So let me try to show you executing this test cases. So I'm going to choose Chrome again. Is going to start an execution and run this test one after another. So there are like quite a number of test cases. I'm not going to wait to basically complete all these test cases, but I want to show you how it runs. And some are test cases are passing, some are failing. So I'm going to stop the execution here. And I just to highlight on the same thing, same project. So this is our project which we basically developed using IntelliJ before, and that's what we just copied into the Katalon Studio. So if you look at here, it have the list of page object classes and all the test cases and the test utils we use. So we just copied the complete folder structure into the Katalon, which I showed you before. So it has all the element IDs which we are using, or just copied directly there, and the Katalon Studio basically execute this test cases using the legacy test cases. So it's a pretty simplified integration of migrating those from legacy Selenium TestNG framework to Katalon and execute it seamlessly. So that's, I'm going to close this execution. Okay, I'm going to move to my next demo, which is to migrate our Selenium IDE to Katalon. So as probably you know, Selenium IDE is a Selenium integrated development environment where you can get started with developing your Selenium scripts. So basically you launch a Selenium IDE. Selenium IDE is like a Chrome plugin which you use to record while you're doing some actions on the application under test. Let me do a full screen on this. Yeah, so Selenium, so it's basically while we are doing an actions on the application under test, Selenium IDE record all the actions and generates an element IDs also. And in the end, basically you save this project into an external, like on your directory or something. And in our scope of the thing, so we also try to migrate our Selenium ID project into the Katalon Studio. So that's also a registrable process. Once we save a Selenium ID project on a directory or something, we import that Selenium ID project within the Katalon Studio. So all the Selenium ID test cases or test suite which we saved before are just directly imported into the Katalon Studio. So it's a straight away a two-step process. And this feature is basically right now it's more in the pre-release version, which is 7.5.0, and hopefully after more thorough testing, it will be available on the public Katalon website. So what values we or advantages we want to bring with this migration features is that one of the most advantages that Selenium IDE has a rich capability to basically generate the test cases and capture those element IDs and everything. So we just directly import that into the Katalon Studio and execute the test case from there. So it's basically transform the scripts into the Katalon platform and help us in automated testing. So let me give you a demo on this. So, sorry. Yeah, so let me start with the Selenium ID. So this is a Selenium ID, which here I'm going to record my script for 1 hour of our application editor test. So let me point to that with this URL. So let me start recording. So here, while as you can see on the right hand side on the top bottom is whatever actions I'm doing, the Selenium ID is recording that actions and it's going to and also recording the element IDs where I'm performing those actions. So first, in case I log into my application, log in here, and I choose the facility which I want to make an appointment, and then I choose the date. For example, I choose date and put some comment and book an appointment. And then I can log out. So this is what I have done. So in a Selenium ID, it is basically whatever actions I was performing on this application under test, it has saved those actions if you see on my cursor here, and also saved the element IDs. So next I'm going to save my test script. Actually, in the whole project, I'm going to save it here to an external repository, to an external, to my, to one of the folders here. And then I basically go back to the Katalon Studio and import the project which I saved. So here they have introduced this new feature, which is where you can import the Selenium ID project. So that's what the option I choose. So I choose this option and then I import it. So as you can see, it has imported all the test cases and the test suite which I saved before. So it has directly imported those in this folder structure, like it has imported the test cases and also imported the test scripts here. So for reference, I'm going to start executing those test cases back. So whichever we have recorded is going to start the browser and um, perform the action, basically going to do the same thing. It's going to log in and choose appointment, and that's about it. Yep. So just to highlight on this one. So this is what I have imported into the Katalon Studio. So as you see, it has just re, copied the actions and these are the element IDs, and it's more like a description of those. So if I go to the script mode, it is basically doing the same actions like which I was recorded, and is referring to those element IDs. Here, this is more like comment, and here is doing those actions here. So it basically, it get copied here, and we perform these actions. In this current migration, we support pretty much all the element IDs, which is XPath, CSS, IDs, and name. So there's a one limitation. It does not support the link text element ID as of now. So hopefully in the next release, when we put on the public website, we overcome this limitation. But currently, it does not support the link text element ID feature. And so that's pretty much my demo. Go back to the slide.
Well, thank you so much, Jackman. So before we get started with the demo, I apologize. Before we get started with the Q&A session, please set out 1 minute of your time so that we can collect your feedback about the demo so that we can improve the upcoming webinars so that we can also provide more useful webinars for you as well. So I will be launching the poll right now. Okay, so we would greatly appreciate it if you can provide us your feedback within the poll. And thank you once again.
Should we look at the questions right now, May?
Yes. So I do have some questions for you, Jackman. But
Okay.
let's so there's only around 30 seconds left. So so we can get started with the questions after 30 seconds then. Oh, it's only 30 seconds left. Okay.
Okay. So I have stopped sharing my screen. If you want to start sharing your screen, you can do that.
Yes, let's do that. Okay, so that 1 minute is up. So I still see people. So maybe let's give them maybe another 40 seconds, and then we can get started with the Q&A. Thank you. Okay, so okay, so I think we are ready for some of the questions over here, Jackman. So please give me 1 second. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. Are you able to see the questions on my screen as well?
No, not the question on your screen.
Oh, okay. So, you know, I can just read out loud some of the questions for you. Okay, so allow me 1 second. Oops. I apologize, everyone. I'm still figuring out how this works. Okay, okay. So first of all,
I have a list of questions. I can go from there if you want.
Yeah, okay, we can do that also. Is there any particular question that caught your attention, Jackman?
I'm just reading through the big list of questions. There's 16 of those. Maybe I just answer few of those, and then audience can basically ask the rest of the questions, or or we can post this answer on the Katalon forum.
Okay, let's start with I think I see very interesting questions right here for you. So the question basically is so this is from an anonymous attendee. So they're asking, is it possible for them to continue developing Selenium script after the integration with Katalon Studio?
Um, so can you repeat the question again?
So the question is that, can I continue developing Selenium scripts after the integration with Katalon?
Okay, yeah. So to answer your question, yes, we can. There's nothing stopping you. All we have to do is that whatever Selenium scripts which we are developing, we're going to re-import or copy that into the Katalon Studio, and we can execute it there. There's nothing stopping you, but the whole concept of bringing this feature that whatever new development we want to do in Katalon. So it's up to you, or depending upon your timeline of the project. Yes, we can do it.
Okay. So then another question that is, I think that will be related to your answer is that, can you so is it possible for the user to re-migrate their test back into Selenium? Yes, the answer to that would be yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the next question is that,
I think just want to clarify, when you say re-migrate my test back to Selenium, is it we cannot re-migrate our Katalon test to Selenium, but other way, yeah, we can other way around, we can do it.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying right now is that from Selenium script to back to Katalon, that
Yeah.
is possible, and you can
Yeah.
continue doing your scripts in Katalon. However, bringing Katalon scripts back to Selenium, that might not be. That might have to. There might have to be some workaround for that direction. Correct?
That's right.
I see. Okay. So one more very, I think would be a very technical related questions. So from V, what are the supporting locator strategies with Selenium IDE migration?
So as I was mentioning about in a demo, so location strategies is pretty much everything which is supported in Selenium IDE, which is XPath, CSS, ID, name, everything which is supported in Selenium IDE get migrated to Katalon Studio except the link text. So we haven't, there's a limitation on only on a link text. Rest everything is supported. So hopefully in our next releases, we overcome this limitation. So that's the only limitation right now for the link text.
Okay. So one more question is that, so is it possible to export test cases and test scripts developed in manual mode into, so we might need some further clarification on this question. So Jackman, what do you think about that question? Can we export test cases and scripts developed in the manual mode?
I'm not exactly understanding this question. Export.
So
Okay,
I guess,
so I think so. What you are saying is that because Catalog has a manual mode, right?
yes.
So I'm not understanding, where do you want to export? Are you want to export into like Selenium framework, or I'm not understanding the question correctly when you mean by export?
So I guess it's probably be similar to one of the earlier questions we have today, which was, is it possible to migrate Catalan script into Selenium? So probably in this context, I also understanding that, it's our test cases that develop in Catalan manual mode. So I guess, again, to answer you, anonymous attendee, there might have to be some workaround to migrate Selenium, again, to migrate Katalon scripts and Katalon manual test cases back to Selenium. And that is something that we can discuss with our product development team with the upcoming releases of Katalon. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And it basically, just to maybe highlight or expand this question. So when I say manual mode, so if you have a look at on demo, so there's a manual mode and script mode. So whatever we do in a manual mode is automatically the script is getting created. So it is not exactly much of a difference between manual mode script mode. So why we had developed manual mode is more for the manual testers who want to understand automation and use a manual mode. So they're pretty much the same thing.
Okay. So, okay. So from Anil, the question is that does it support migration from any other framework other than JUnit and TestNG? So, hmm,
So mostly what we had targeted is the most common framework, which is the JUnit and TestNG, because our is a Katalon is primarily for Java technologies, right? So I think so that if your question is that if we want to migrate, like for example, JavaScript framework into Katalon, no, we cannot do it because we are targeting only the Java-based technologies for Selenium. So, and in Java world, it's a JUnit and TestNG are the more testing libraries. So that's what we are targeting it.
okay.
That's a good question. Actually, maybe we can put to our development if they want to expand the horizon of it.
So another question from our anonymous attendee. So do we need to add extra jars in Calon for using Selenium? I'm not sure what these. I'm not sure if that makes.
No, I understand this question. So if
Okay.
you we don't want to do this extra jars in Catalan. We can do it, but we want to make it more simplified approach. So that's what we're using the Gradle, which is the dependency management platform. So we specify the jars, whatever we need, external dependencies in the Gradle format, and we use Catalan copy dependencies, and then we basically write a command copy dependencies. All the external jars are basically imported when you execute this command. So so that's how we make it more simplified.
Okay, I see. I see. Thank you. So there is one more questions about whether the Selenium migration feature is a enterprise feature, and the answer is no. As long as you download the latest version of Katalon Studio on a website, you'll be able to have access to this feature. So just a very brief, very quick explanation. So when you download Katalon Studio from our website, you'll be able to enter the trial for both the Katalon Studio Enterprise and the Katalon Runtime Engine. So this trial will last up to 30 days. And then within that 30 days, after the trial expires, it will revert back to the Katalon free license. And then within that Katalon free license, you'll be able to have access to this Selenium migration capability. Yes. Okay. So I see some people that are raising their hands. So please give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. So, so to the attendees that are raising your hands, if you can type out your questions in the Q&A session, that would be helpful for us. Okay. So another one question is that is it possible to migrate with Selenium IDE 2.9.1?
I suppose so because I tested with one of the latest Selenium IDE. I don't know the version. I have to look back, but my guess is yeah, it's possible because I tested latest one.
Okay.
So I have to look back into my Selenium IDE version, but I tested the latest one.
Okay. So one technical question from Nimrod.
And that's one we want to reiterate or this feature of Selenium ID migration is only available in 7.5.10, which is a pre-release. So this release, which is available on the Katalon website, is 7.5.5, not 5.5.10. So some people might get just challenges. Even I encountered it. So just want to clarify on that.
Okay, so one question from Nimrod. So basically, they are sharing that when they import the test cases, they got two empty folders. Are they doing something wrong? So is
Yeah.
that okay?
So I was just mentioning about that. This feature is in 7.5.10. So I don't know what version of Catalan you're using. If you're using 7.5.5, you will get into this problem. So you have to go to the Catalan pre-release version, which is 7.5.10, to have this uh, properly working.
Okay, so finally, so since our time is running out, so I'm still looking at some of the questions. So, Jackmit, I'm sure that you are seeing the list of questions right now. Is there any question that caught your attention lately?
There's one question related to Cucumber. All right, so I saw this question. Um, yes, so Katalon Studio does support Cucumber. So it has a built-in feature. We specify the business requirement in the BDD language, for example, Cucumber, and then we develop our test cases on top of that. And in the report, you basically get the execution report in a given when format. So yes, we support this feature, and we have already tested it. And let me answer one another question, which is caught my attention, which is outside this topic of discussion, but I think so very relevant, is can we automate desktop application using Katalon? Yes, we can automate. In the latest version of Katalon, they have providing this desktop automation feature, and it is good for your application developed on Windows 10, maybe not for the previous version of Windows. So just be mindful of.
Okay, so I see that our time is running out. So once again, Jigme, thank you so much for joining the demo and joining the webinar with us today. And to the attendees for the webinar today, we have received all of your technical questions and we'll be more than happy to answer them. So if you could please send those technical questions to our team at business@katalon.com. We'll be able to direct you to the appropriate resources so that they can provide the assistance that you need. Furthermore, if you are interested in a tailored technical walkthrough on the Selenium script migration capabilities, we will be more than happy to help you. And please expect further details on that in the follow-up email. Once again, Jackmit, thank you so much for your time. Do you have any last thing you want to share with us before we conclude the session today?
No, thanks May for organizing everything, and thanks for all the organizers. So I hope the audience like our presentation, and hopefully we're going to see you soon.
Yes. Again, thank you so much, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you again in the upcoming webinars. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thanks.
Thank you.